what's up everyone? So, welcome back to the squad. I know it's been a while since done a video. Life's always busy, family, all the fun stuff. So I did get a chance to go to the Tennessee Regional this past weekend. I know this video is coming out a little bit later. I did spend some extra time down there with the family and stuff, so that's why I'm doing this video a little bit later. So I want to show you guys my deck list that I ran for it. Now, there are a couple things to keep in mind. I did drive all the way from Wisconsin to Tennessee. I didn't fly in, so that was a long drive for me, and I didn't really plan it out very well because this is my first regional event, so I really didn't know what to expect. I had expectations, but they didn't go the way I wanted to, so I was only able to play 4 rounds of the regional, which I do wish I could have played more, but reason being is I did bring my family and I did want to spend some time with them, and we were already 5 hours into the event, and we had a 2-hour drive back to our hotel, so I did call it after I lost my second match, not match, but after I went 2-2. Had I stayed, I could have maybe done a little bit better, but again, that's not up in the air. We won't know. I'm going to the Madison Regional, so maybe there might be some different stuff for that. So I'm hoping to stick through all that one this time around because that is obviously closer in Wisconsin. So, but you guys are here to see the deck list. So I did run set 2 Vegito, and I'm just gonna end up get rid of this. So I'm just gonna show you the whole deck list here. I'll put the deck list up on tap too, so you guys can see it. But this is all deck list. I'll kind of go over why I chose to do what I did. So obviously we have secret rare, and I'll go over matchups too and stuff like that for you guys. 2 of these super combos. So I think these super combos were actually really helpful, especially in some of the green matchup. The one of the green matchup I have, which I can discuss. But this guy right here I think is fantastic because it does a little bit of the minusing power to help against the leader and things along those lines. So that was really clutch in certain games. Pretty standard. This is the other super combo that everyone's kind of ran. With this being said, I hit and didn't hit with this just because you need the red and yellow, so it was weird, but it did work for some of the matchups. There are some changes I would make. Now, this is the new tech that I added to it, so this right here was the new tech. I never honestly used it for playing it, which is more or less a charge starter because you have to play the 1-drop Goku Vegeta, which I never really did. It was kind of just extra charge to be able to have my yellow stuff, but it was nice to have it if I did need it, but I never really used it. This was the other clutch card that I used, the Savior. So I know a lot of people depend on the Prowess, deflect, triple strike barrier, but this actually came in clutch in a couple games because it's a 30k dual attack crit, so you're getting crit and then a double strike crit after you swing the first one. So if you can get them low enough hands or make them burn their energy with other stuff, you can just slap this down and go that way. And then one of the things that I actually ran that actually was more so meant for a lot of the floodgates that are out right now, especially Yellow and Android 21, was this. So this card I think honestly needs to stay in the deck, because this is a counterplay that if your battle card in your opponent's is playing has 2 or less and it's returned to someone's hand instead of being played, then you can choose one of your blue battle cards and then enter your less and return to someone's hand. So that's really good because there's a couple things you can do with this. You're going to hit almost all the floodgates, but the biggest thing you're going to hit is when you play 21, you're going to end up hitting the Unison. Not the Unison, I'm sorry, the Z battle card they play. So that Z battle card is huge if you can stop them there. I didn't see that much 21 there. There was more green Gohan, but there was like a mix of a lot of other stuff too that I kind of saw around. But this definitely would come in clutch for that, and it also stops a lot of yellow floodgates as well too. But the nice thing is that you do have the option to choose one of your blue battle cards and then enter your last return to its hand. And the nice thing about that is that you can hit things like your 1-drop. So you can hit your Vegeta, the Goku. You can hit these guys and then get the additional draw if it need be. But that's just kind of my opinion. I didn't really use it for that, and it came in a couple matches, and I'll go over that shortly here. But the biggest thing with that being said is that I also ran the Flying Nimbus. The Flying Nimbus, in my opinion, was fantastic. I saw enough yellow stuff to be able to dictate pitching things and stuff along those lines. Um, so like it was nice to have that option because again you're very fragile. You're not really running many counters in the game or anything like that. Yeah, you're running the Winter Vegeta counter and things like that. Now you may ask why I didn't run the yellow Vegeta one drop counter, and that's because one, with it being $25 a pop, I just couldn't justify it. And if I feel like I was gonna run it, I just substituted for one of these two right here, either the these guys or this. But I think it probably just get substituted for this. But in all honesty, I don't know that it's necessary to run in the deck. It's more of like, I think, a tech card. It's really good, do not get me wrong by any means, but I don't think it's one of those cards that's really really needed in the deck specifically, because it just it's extra. You don't, it doesn't make or break the deck because you have enough negates the way it is anyway, and you're able to withstand a lot of high life anyway, so you don't really need to negate that much because you're sitting at 7-8 life within turn 3, turn 4, because you have a 15k leader and you have all this stuff like that. So all honesty, it's not the end of the world to be able to have that. But I'm gonna give you my guys' matchups. Here I just gotta find the list because I have a list someplace. Okay, so here's, go back up this one. Okay, so hold on. I think I got the matchups here. Sorry about that. Loading more. Just trying to go through and find the matchups. I'll finish up going through the other decks I have. So the Z deck, this, I played it once and it kind of came in handy for stuff. It's more so there for the deflect double strike if you need to play it. But obviously it's pretty standard formats for everything. Your extra deck was, so this is kind of where I came into handy for stuff. So I really wish I wanted to run more of these saviors. The saviors I feel like came more clutch, but the peel off did come in handy against a Vegeta GT ramp deck, which was huge. And then I ran the Unison of Rage just in case I saw any Invoker stuff. This is the new promo card, and I just wanted it because it kind of is the same thing as a 3-drop Vegeta, but this one here is that you can choose 2 of your opponent's battle cards in breast mode, ignoring barrier or unisons, and lock them. So like that, in my opinion, was a little bit more clutch because you had a lot of stuff that had dual attack or swings or anything like that. But I never really swapped into it and used it, but it would be definitely a nice hand. And then obviously 2 of the crown and then 1 of the Vegeta Resolve renewed. So let's kind of go into matchups real quick. So my first matchup was against Yellow Trunksgeta. And that matchup was against a little more of an experienced player. I'm not really sure who it was, but I did go quite aggressive on it just because I know Yellow does have that. But where I got kind of screwed was at the end. They ended up using the Yellow Vegito, the 8-drop, to negate my strike skills, which didn't really help anything. So like I wasn't able to get enough board pressure. I did get him down to 1 life, but I couldn't get around. I just couldn't close the game just because of the Vegito and all the floodgates, and I didn't really see any of my desperate measures to stop the floodgates. So like it didn't really help anything for that. The second matchup I had was against a Black Mass Saiyan deck. And with that being said, the Black Mass Saiyan deck, the way that one works is it's just a lot of heavy crits right away in the beginning that you don't really want to combo out of. So I've played against it plenty of times to that point. I did win that one, and the reason why I won that one was because the guy was a little more aggressive than he wanted to be. So he did go pretty heavy on his crits and swing into me and make me burn a lot of my life to drop, but I did have a decent starting hand. So with that being said, I did end up using the Savior. That really came in clutch that game because, again, he had a small hand by the time he's done comboing everything off and warping and doing all his stuff. So the dual crit 30k really made it hard for him to come back from it. And then having that double strike at the end, plus the pressure from the Hyper Speed Rush Goten, both those cards kind of came in clutch. Back to the Trunks Geta match though, like that match, it was a little bit more difficult. just because Trunksgeta in yellow is really, really heavy on their counterplays, and they're dependent on their floodgates, but they do have a lot. So they do have the ultimate duel. They do have things like the 8-drop Trunks and Vegeta that becomes 35k crit, and then the leader and all this stuff. And I just, again, like I said, having driven 2.5 hours, the match started at 10, but they actually pushed it to 11, so we got there at 8 in the morning, driving 6 o'clock in the morning from our hotel because, again, didn't plan out very well. It just was a long, early match, and it was my first time actually participating in regionals, so like I was a little nervous, so I didn't really do well for that match. The third match that I had, I actually played a ramp Vegeta, the Vegeta GT. And so what I ended up doing was, with that, I did sideboard, and I actually sideboarded the peel-off in. And I was trying to see either the peel-off or the protecting his level 1. So I swapped out the double strike guy here because I knew they were going to have more than enough negates to get around things. And thankfully, turn 3, I did see the peel off, and I was able to pull that off, and I was just able to go in ham with the secret rare and rest all his energy, and he couldn't do anything because peel off had been played, and the secret rare just wiped his energy, made it all stand still, and then he couldn't counter. So I went in big with that, and then I had the I think the standard guy out, the 8-drop, the other 8-drop here, Prowless. So he was on. I did manage to play Sin a couple times in a couple of matches as well too. And then, yeah, so that was kind of that match. And then the last match that I ended up losing against was one of my buddies here from locals in Wisconsin. And you guys have probably seen some of the deck list on the Dorm Potential page for the green. But he went and did top, I think he did top 16. But he was playing the green Veku, Gogeta. And being a green player, so like I normally play green, and that's kind of my thing. I do know how to play against that, and the biggest thing about playing against that deck is that you want to hit all the 1-drops that come in. You don't ever want to see those 1-drops get played. The biggest problem with that is that they can still technically Union Patara from their hand into the other stuff, but at least it gives you the option not to see all their cards and their draws and stuff like that. But again, this is our 4th match. Going into our 4th match, and it's already been 2.5 hours, 3 hours in, and I've already been up since like 4:30 that morning. So with that being said, like I do know how to play against it. I did try and use this guy here, the super combo, to minus those 1Ks down, but I couldn't hit him. I tried using the Beerus, and I couldn't get that. I did use the Desperate Measures a couple times to hit the 1-drops. But it just became a thing of where I couldn't keep up with him playing the 1-drops. I did make him burn all his energy and stuff like that, and I just didn't really have the right draw mechanics right off the bat because I've seen a lot of different mixes of things. So obviously I didn't win that match, so that put me on my 2nd loss. And like I said, I should have kept playing, but I decided because it was already 4 in, and it was already late, and it was already by the time that was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and the wife and family were with me at that point. I decided to for my first event, I got some experience and I got some matches in, and I decided to call it quits. So unfortunate as it is, I would have loved to stay to play more, but sometimes you gotta put family first before anything else. So the other thing I just wanted to go over real quick too with the deck build is that you guys probably noticed I'm missing a card, which is the 3-drop, right? The one that plays into the Vegito Resolve combined. Now, I do feel that card is kind of a clunky add-on because we become dependent on it because you can't play anything else outside of Vegito cards, and I do feel that is a limiting aspect of the deck itself. So I think once you play that, you end up limiting what you can do on those later games to be able to play other things, such as your 6-drop Faded Rivals, or to be able to play the Hyperspeed or the Sin. It just limits it for that turn, and you don't. I mean, you get the draw tune, you get the ability to activate that with a barrier guy, but you're more so worried about using the Z leader to play in these 8-drops. So there's some changes I'm gonna make to this deck later on, but I think honestly overall, for it being my first regional and everything, I did relatively well with the matchup. So that's kind of the rundown of what I ended up running at the Tennessee event. And like I said, I should have ran more. And I feel like after the loss, it kind of put me in a weird spot, just because it was late game or running late and just interesting for my first event. But that's kind of what I ran and that's what I saw. I did see more so about the event, and we can discuss that. They did really well for hosting it. They did really well for the seating. They did really well for the prizing. They did really well for having everything available. It was a very clean setup. The deck list turn-ins were super nice. So congrats to them for doing a well job of hosting it. They did give out the silver cards, and the silver cards were done with the additional or the parties of 5. And the thing about that was I know some of the events previous to this ended up giving out 5 per one person, but they ended up doing it where it was the 5 packs per party, so we had to divvy it up. Um, so is that, but like I said, it was a well-ran event, and I think that honestly, congrats to the guys who did top, and congrats to my buddy Mike, who did really, really well with his Gogeta. That was one of the decks I was thinking about running. I just didn't have enough of the new cards to do what I wanted to for it. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how things went. So I mean, honestly, if you guys have questions, feel free to reach out to the channel and stuff like that. I'm hoping to go to Madison too and do that event. Who knows what I'll be playing, because I know there's some crazy combos with Gohan out right now. Gogeta obviously is really good. This is really good and a solid build. So it just really depends on where things kind of break down in the next couple weeks, because that's coming up here. It's the 27th, so we got 2 weeks. So it really depends on the next week and a half to see what kind of people are doing and what deck lists are out. But yeah, like I said, that's the deck list for you guys. If you guys have questions, reach out. Continue to watch and subscribe. I know it's been crazy. I haven't uploaded the video in a while, but I just wanted to give you guys a rundown of my experience from Tennessee and it being my first regional event. And like I said, should have stayed longer, but sometimes you just gotta pick and choose your battles. So, but all right, guys, thanks again. I appreciate it. Follow, subscribe, and like, and hopefully you'll see you next time. Bye.